out today, Mr. Granite is from another planet. Chapter 7. Mr. Granite goes overboard. It was recess. We were on the swings in the playground. Me and the guys were talking about important stuff, like who won the big game last night. Andrea and her friends were talking about girly stuff, like what color they should paint their toenails. That's when Mr. Granite came over. He was carrying some kind of machine. Everybody off the swings, he shouted. Why? We all asked. I need to attach this generator to the top of the swing set, Mr. Granite replied. So every time you swing back and forth, you'll be making electricity. We had to get off the swing set and go over to the field near the cows and the windmill. I miss Mrs. Daisy, said Neil the little kid. She was normal. We used to say Mrs. Daisy was weird, Miss Viper said, but Mr. Granite is even weirder. Moo, said a cow. Mr. Granite is going overboard with this green stuff, said Ryan. He's falling out of a boat? I asked. No, dubhead, said Ryan. I mean he's getting carried away. I don't see anybody carrying him away, I pointed out. I looked around to make sure nobody was carrying Mr. Granite away. Moo, said a cow. I heard that Mr. Granite is working on a machine that makes electricity every time you blink your eyes, Michael told us. We'll have to wear it like a pair of glasses. That's crazy, I said. I heard that Mr. Granite asked the music teacher, Mrs. Lurley, to write a song with just one note in it, said Neil the Nut Kid. Why? We all asked. So he wouldn't waste any notes, Neil said. That will be the most boring song in the history of the world, I said. Moo, agreed the cow. Andrea and her friends were sitting on a bench a few feet away, looking all worried. What's eating you? I asked Andrea. Do you get an A- on the math quiz? No, hello, Andrea replied. I got an A+. But I just figure something out. What? We all asked. Maybe Mr. Granite isn't a real teacher at all, Andrea said. Did you ever think of that? What do you mean? I asked. Maybe he's just pretending to be a teacher, she said. I think that Mr. Granite is from another planet. That's nuts, I told her. Think about it, Arlo, Andrea said. Mr. Granite knows a lot about planets and stars and space, right? Yeah. And he doesn't understand the English language very well, right? Yeah. He has supervision too, agreed Neil. He can see through walls. Did you ever notice that Mr. Granite doesn't have any hair growing out of his ears or nose? Ryan asked. Andrea might be right. After all, the first lure of being a kid, being a grown-up, is that you have hair growing out of your ears and nose. Mine has to trim his nose hair every week. Maybe Mr. Granite is from another planet. Moo! said the cow. He doesn't look like an alien, said Michael. Aliens are little green guys with big heads. Maybe Mr. Granite is disguised as a human, I suggested. Yeah, said Ryan. Maybe if we peeled off his human mask underneath, we'd find a little green guy with a big head. Mr. Granite is nice, and Emily said. Maybe he's a good alien. Yeah, like E.T., said Ryan. That's my favorite movie. Maybe Mr. Granite is an alien who was left here on Earth, like E.T. There are no nice aliens, Neil said. You're supposed to kill aliens. Yeah, I added, with laser beams. Stop trying to scare Emily, said Andrea. Mr. Granite is probably going to take over the world and turn us into flesh-eating robots, I said. said Emily, and she was running away. The only problem was that Emily ran right into a cow. She was on the ground, freaking out. What a crybaby! Moo, said the cow. Ow, said Emily, which is moo, upside down and backwards. My dad is a policeman, said Micah, and he says you can't accuse people of stuff unless you have proof. So let's get proof that Mr. Granite is an alien, said Neil the new kid. How are you going to get proof? Ryan asked. I have an idea, Andrea told everybody. Let's follow Mr. Granite home after school. I have my camera in my backpack. We can snoop around and take pictures of it when he picks up his human mask. And we'll have proof. Everybody agreed that Miss Andrea was a genius and that she should get the Nobel Prize. That's a prize they give out to people who don't have bears. Chapter 8, the world's biggest iPod. All afternoon I was watching Mr. Granite very carefully to see if his piece was going to come off. Finally, 3 o'clock came and the bell rang. Any questions? Mr. Granite said as he gathered stuff out of our cubbies. Are you going to destroy our planet? I asked. Will you peel off your face? Neil asked. Don't be silly, replied Mr. Granite. Once we got outside, me, Michael, and Ryan raced to the bike rack. Andrea and Emily were already there. How will we find out where Mr. Granite lives? Asked Emily. We should drop pieces of candy on the ground, said Ryan. That's what the boy did in Haiti. I'm not wasting my candy, I said. We should stack Mr. Granite, suggested Michael. You mean we should hit it with celery? I asked. What good would that do? No, dumbhead, said Andrea. Stalking is. She never got a chance to finish her sentence because at that very second, Mr. Granite zoomed past us on his bike. Look, said Ryan. There he goes. We all hopped on our bikes and followed Mr. Granite, being careful not to let him see us. Maybe Mr. Granite will make our bikes fly, said Ryan. That's what E.T. did. Will you forget about E.T. already? Michael told Ryan. Finally, Mr. Granite turned into a driveway. Well, I don't mean it became a driveway. That would be weird. He just rode his bike up into a driveway next to a house. There was a big white box in front of it, in front of the garage. It had was pause on it. Hey, check it out, I told everybody. Look at the size of that iPod. Mr. Granite lives in an iPod? Asked Michael. Man, I said, how many songs do you think will fit on that iPod? It's not an iPod, dumbass, said Andrea. It's one of those green storage boxes. It said pause. Oh, it makes sense that Mr. Granite lives in a pod. I saw this movie called Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It had those pod people who look just like humans, but they work secretly to spend more pods, and they could replace the entire human race. It was cool. Anybody who lives in a pod has to be an alien, I said. My mom said we should accept people no matter where they live. Emily said, your mom is weird, I told her. Maybe he's building a transmitter in there to contact with his home planet, said Ryan, like an E.T. Give it a rest with E.T., will ya? I told Ryan. Mr. Granite opened the door and went inside the puff thing. We all snuck up to it. We were secret agents. It was cool. Andrea took a little camera out of her backpack. I bet he's taking off his human mask in there, Michael whispered. I snapped a picture when he peels up his face, Andrea whispered. That will be a really cold moment, I whispered. I'm scared, whispered Emily. Maybe we should. But she never got a chance to finish her sentence because at that very second, Mr. Granite popped out of the pod. Eek! We all screamed. Good day, mates, Mr. Granite said. He looked completely normal. What can I do for you, Brooks? Oh, I said, we were just wondering if you trim your nose hair. You followed me home to ask if I trim my nose hair? Asked Mr. Granite. Well, actually, we want to know where you were born, said Andrea. I came from Neptune, said Mr. Granite. Wow, we all said, which is Mom, upside down. So it was true. Mr. Granite it really is from another planet. Yes, he continued, Neptune, New Jersey. And my parents moved to Australia. Oh, Chapter 9, Tattletales. I didn't believe for a minute that Mr. Granite was born in New Jersey. He was an alien from another planet for sure. And even though we didn't have a picture of him peeling up his human mask, we decided there was only one thing left for us to do. We had to tell Mr. Cross. The next morning, we all made us early to go to Mr. Cross's office. When we get there, he was wearing one of those weird square hats we have to wear at graduation. And he was sticking his head out the window. Why are you sticking your head out the window? Ryan asked. Oh, excuse me, said Mr. Granite, putting his head back inside. I have to sharpen my pencil. I sharpened my pencil. You have a pencil sharpener outside your window? Asked Michael. No, I was just gathering solar energy to power my pencil sharpener. Mr. Cross told us. See, this cap has a solar panel in it. It was Mr. Grant's idea. Mr. Cross showed us how to sharpen a pencil with his solar-powered pencil sharpener. It was cool. We want to talk to you about Mr. Granite, said Ryan. I'm all ears, Mr. Cross said. You are not, I told him. You have eyes and a nose and a mouth, too. It would be weird to be all ears. It's just an expression, dumbhead, said Andrea, rolling her eyes. It means Mr. Cross is listening. I know that. I knew that, I lied. Anyway, we think there's something weird about Mr. Granite. Yes, I agree, Mr. Cross said. I can't put my finger on it. Why would you want to put your finger on it? I asked. Mr. Granite lives in the past, Emily said, and he has no nose hair, said Michael. Mr. Cross, said Andrea, we suspect that Mr. Granite is from another planet. Said Mr. Cross. It's funny you should mention that. The other day I saw a flying saucer in the teacher's lounge. What? We all shouted. You did? Yes, said Mr. Cross. The teachers were throwing their teacups around again. I'll have to make another announcement about that. If Mr. Granite is an alien, will you have to fire him? Asked Emily. Or attack him with laser beams? Asked Ryan. Said Mr. Cross. This has never came up before. I'm not sure aliens from another planet are allowed to teach third grade. I'll have to check the Board of Education rulebook. I'm bored of education, I said. It's in the meantime, said Mr. Cross, let's all keep our eyes peeled. That will probably hurt, I told him. Can't we just watch Mr. Granite instead? Okay, let's do that, he said. We want to know everything about him. I want to know what makes him tick, tick, tick. Mr. Granite ticks? I asked. Maybe there's a clock inside him, like a crocodile in Peter Pan. Maybe there's a bomb inside him, Ryan said. Mr. Granite swallowed a bomb? Asked Emily. We've got to do something. Run for your lives, shouted near the news kids, and we all went running out of Mr. Cross's office. So it was the end of Mr. Granite is from another planet. Next time we're going to read another chapter. So bye bye. Bye bye.